Welcome to Bold Talk series where creativity, leadership, ideas, and innovation come together. My name is Epi Ludwig, and today I have a privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with Jason Fishman, the founder and CEO of DNA agency. Jason, great seeing you, my friend. How are you?
Doing great. Doing great. Pleasure to be here, Epi. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, man, it's been a long time, and welcome to our Bold Talks series. Obviously, the I remember it was like a few years back. We did a recording similar in your show. So it's my time now to bring you in our conversation here about what you're doing with the DNA and so on. So, give us an overview of the DNA, your journey, and what inspired you to start the agency.
Absolutely. Big fan of your messaging around being bold, the content, the events that you put out. So it's a pleasure for me to participate. Was a standout having on my podcast, Test Optimize
Thanks, man.
Scale. A popular episode that I got a lot of feedback around at that. So I've been looking forward to this. And yeah, my journey creating DNA, my history, my background was in advertising, ad tech. And I was working with many Fortune 500 companies, but was one of many founders, uh, one of many vendors, I should say. I wasn't a founder yet at that point. If we ran a successful campaign for a telecom company here in the United States, we were told, good job, we'll consider you for the next RFP. When we're doing a request for proposal process, we're going to bring you into the loop. But fantastic work, guys. And that was it. We were brought on for service, even with outstanding results. There was that layer of separation, not too much depth. I wanted to work in the startup world. I had experience working with a social gaming company startup here in Los Angeles. I wanted to be in that environment. So we created DNA to work as a growth marketing agency with startup to mid-market businesses and offer full stack marketing services. So not just the traffic from advertising, but the full funnel, various other tactics to bring traffic into that funnel. And we did. Worked off referral partnerships, servicing different verticals that were more of at that time at need for digital. They were kind of underserviced by the digital world, and we were living more and more online. This is back 2014. Around 2015, there was a breakthrough. We found that we were constantly in the fundraising conversation for our clients, whether it was working on a marketing section of a business plan, a pitch deck to be presented to investors, running an initial marketing campaign that was then going to be scaled with capital from investors once the performance was there, even participating in the investor meetings themselves and speaking to the marketing side of the business. A capital raise was constantly one of our agenda items in our conversations with clients. And at that time, we were introduced to Regulation D 506C here in the US that allowed us to target accredited investors with marketing for the purpose of a capital raise. General solicitation, we could run advertising, we could use content. I was able to tap into my data partnerships and reach high net worth, high household income audiences across various investor behavior subsets, drive traffic to the offering page where the deal was living, and we saw success. We were introduced to more deals accordingly, and I was told about Reg CF, regulation crowdfunding, and that was a matter of when, not if. So we positioned for the launch of Reg CF. We had advertising live day one, and Reg CF allowed for marketing not just to those accredited investors that I mentioned, but to retail investors. Virtually any adult could invest in private companies if they completed this filing. So, the light bulb's going off for us. Suddenly, we have this niche that's untapped. We were introduced to more and more issuers, the companies issuing shares, more and more portals, the FINRA, the SEC, the financial governing bodies, partners that host these deals on their websites and follow
Mhm.
specific rules. The security attorneys, the financial auditors, everyone working on these deals started bringing us more and more of them. Over time, we've now worked on over 400 equity crowdfunding, investment crowdfunding campaigns that have collectively produced hundreds of millions, nine figures of capital. In addition to that, we've worked in digital assets, cryptocurrency, some of the fintechs and the cryptocurrency exchange apps. We've brought in billions in assets under management using these marketing tactics. I've worked with real estate groups, real estate funds, REITs, anywhere targeting investors and bringing them down a marketing funnel. We've been able to be of value. And last year, Inc. 5000, fastest growing company. I'm part of the Forbes Agency Council, speak at conferences regularly. I've spoken at conferences in 8 countries and worked with a variety of accelerators and put together workshops for groups to effectively market and more so to effectively market to bring on investors.
Nice. Um, Now, when you do these raises, Jason, do you have your preferred platforms that you do? And I assume these raises are mostly in US, I assume, right?
They are global.
Okay.
Regulation S allows for us to do this globally, both from accredited and retail audiences. Uh, so we have clients all over the world. By the nature of it, a large percentage of our client list is in the US. We're based in Los Angeles, have a strong presence at events here in America. But as mentioned, I've spoken all over, have partners, clients all over. So it is across the board. As far as channels go, I really like to begin everything with strategy. There's a system I've built called the 8-point plan. I've written articles around this, lead workshops on it. We generally do it over the course of 4 weeks, 2 sections a week: industry overview, competitor marketing audit, audience marketing channels, creative partnerships, projections, and activation. Could speak at length about each of these. Given the nature of your questions, I don't want to spend too much time
Mm.
on each individual section. I could tell you we're doing a webinar on it next month, and if you search online, there's a lot of content I've put out around it, even a Forbes article series around it. But when we're doing that, I'm trying to get a good sense of what's working for the competition, what's happening with the conversation with them and the audiences, where those audiences go online, what we can do on those channels, both paid with advertising and organically with content marketing, and prioritizing which tactics we're going to use as part of the strategy first, which ones we're going to incorporate at a later time, the creative that's going to go into each of those channels, partnerships that could accelerate those quicker, and the projections. The only way to measure is with numbers, the performance benchmarks that we're looking to hit in terms of impressions, clicks, and conversions. That's the algorithm. How many times a piece of content or an ad on one of these channels has been seen, how much traffic it's driving to your offering, to your funnel, and how many conversions are coming out the other end, of course.
Yeah.
So through that, we're, again, activation list of the channels we want to begin with. I can tell you, not to skirt the answer of the question, is still a top driver for us in terms of paid advertising, where I could upload my custom audience lists. I have databases upon databases of historical investment crowdfunding investors. We've received through partnerships, through data mining, through all different types of opt-in programs.
Jason, can you hear me?
The rules in Europe are different. Yes.
Okay, I think you're breaking up a little bit. I'm not sure if it's in your end or my end, but
Uh-oh.
there's a lot of pause there.
Okay. Let me know if that happens again. I apologize.
No, no worries.
Sorry about the additional
I'm
edits.
not sure if it's my end or
But
your end,
both
but
just mentioned we look to upload. Yeah.
we'll
Let's
see.
just mention we have very specific audiences that
Yeah.
we're able to target compliantly and drive that traffic to the funnel. We can A/B test audiences, creatives, placements, the funnel that we're taking them down, look for pockets of performance and optimize towards what's working best. Now, I say meta advertising versus social advertising at large, or digital advertising at large, because I see higher click-through rates. I
Mm.
see higher conversion rates from these placements. There's something about reaching somebody when they're scrolling that allows for a stronger conversion behavior around these opportunities. Where if I reach them with the banner on a financial website, I anticipate a much lower click-through rate. I anticipate a lower conversion rate. I'm hoping to convert them with retargeting at a later point, but I'll see more early touch point conversions, generally 7 touch points or more before we see these audiences convert. So, I hear a lot of perspectives on digital advertising tracking, popularity of platforms over time, change and sentiments around them. But I follow the analytics. I need the actual numbers to show me where to optimize towards, and it's still a top channel for us.
Yeah. Data, 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 right? So it's that's in patterns of those data is super important. Now, talking about the leadership, obviously the leadership, it's hard. What qualities do you believe are essential for effective leadership in a fast-paced environment, given the fact that you're running multiple campaigns all at once and you're growing your team and so yeah, how like what type of qualities do you believe are essential?
Sure, sure. Happy to answer that both in context of myself and running the agency, speaking to my
Yeah.
partner, our COO, Tim Martinez as well. But in addition to that, yes, we're working with over 40 founders right now. I've worked with over 750 to date, over 400 of those fundraising, like I mentioned. It took us a while to find that niche. We've worked with over 750 clients to date, across the board. So when I'm speaking externally, I like to say the most proactive founders have the most successful campaigns. If I see a CEO, regardless of the size of the organization, we've done this with companies big and small at this point. We work with publicly traded companies, which is at the microcap conference, uh, with CEOs pitching to investors. If a founder is hesitant to put themselves in the spotlight, to be able to tell the story of where the company is now compared to a few months back, a few quarters, few years back. Um, there tends to be a gap. It shows up in other areas of the business. It shows up in other areas of the marketing, the fundraise for us that impact performance.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, we've worked with founders who every week have something exciting and new to share. From the conference they just spoke at, to the podcast they were guest on, to the angel network they just pitched at, to the partnership that they just put together, to the new deal, to the product update, to the new publisher who just covered them, to what they're doing with the local chamber of commerce, whatever it may be. There is always something in the works. Us as marketers, we're working on behalf of that brand. We're working on behalf of that founder, that CEO, and can amplify that story.
Hmm.
Back to the advertising, every dollar we spend, we're getting a visitor to that funnel and from the right audiences, from the right targets. So we've seen that be a crucial component of the campaign. And I see that pass through the leadership to their own team. When
Hmm.
speaking about the agency, it's difficult because we're on the front lines of performance. If I have 40 clients today, I could tell you that at least 4 of them aren't happy any given time. Don't
Yeah.
need to know the details. It's a given. I
Yeah.
could tell you that at least 4 are ecstatic, leading the industry. I could also mention that those clients are often the same people, but different months, different points in their timeline. The top performing campaigns have lulls, have slowdowns. So it can be discouraging for a service provider to be involved in that conversation. Uh, if communication styles don't match, if there's not a standard operating procedure that's giving updates and providing edits and everything back and forth. We put a lot of effort into what we set up so we don't fall into the classic agency client relationship failures. And I have to go to great lengths to uplift my team to be industry leading marketers, not just order takers from the client, and being able to determine what new ideas to test out, test, optimize, scale. Name of my podcast, my philosophy towards marketing. What are we optimizing towards? What are we testing next? How are we providing the client opportunities to scale? As an agency, we strive to be easy to work with, communicate early, and answer with algorithms.
Hmm.
Back to the numbers.
I like that.
I can tell you how we measure client satisfaction. I could tell you any of these mechanisms we've put in place so that my philosophies that have resonated with clients and been used to perform can be replicated. They can be done in unison across multiple account managers and teams underneath them and clients, so we can operate at scale, so we can continue to offer favorable rates versus work with a few clients at much higher costs. So I have dedicated times a week working with each department head, working with external groups, so that we can be leading the business towards further market share, towards larger platforms for thought leadership, and not just acting out of routine, not just letting one week, 1 month, 1 year pass through like it was the next, and being very intentional about where time's spent, not just for me, because I'll bottleneck the processes if everything's just relying on me, but for my entire team. And that's where a lot of my uh, efforts around leadership are focused.
Nice. Now, uh, talk about having the challenges and while running with all these campaigns and clients. How do you motivate and inspire your team to achieve their best or being extraordinary?
Well, it's never ending practice. I can tell you that, and it's never finished.
Mm,
Someone on the team who is acting at 100% today, maybe at 70% next week because of health, personal issues, maybe a client interaction that has stuck with them. So managing humans can be the most difficult aspect of running a business. I've heard that from publicly traded CEOs to founders with a few team members that they have long-standing relationships with, and all of them involving team members who are at the top of their game, the top of their field. Meaning it's not a shortage of talent as much as the complexities of human relationships, the struggle of pushing, uh, you know, to the top professionals to their greatest. We see it in professional sports.
mm,
We see it publicly in many different arenas. So I believe it starts with structure. Having a coach talk sporadically to a world-class athlete is not going to be as effective as a schedule. These are your time blocks. Here's when we meet. Here's what you do outside of what we meet. Here's how it's reported back. Here's when we check in. Here is when I consult, when I coach. Um, Merely having the information fed in both directions, I believe, provides an awareness that allows for more optimization. And with the right coaching, with the right questions being asked around, what do you need to be the best? What do you need for this campaign to be outstanding in comparison to other players in the industry today? Um, I believe opens up the conversations, uh, providing opportunities to test for tactics towards that positioning.
mm,
I could tell you that it's easier in some conversations, easier on some days than the other. Sometimes the answers are more clear, but if I don't block out the space for uh, me as the CEO to work with department heads, and I'm not overviewing their structures on how they're working with mid-level managers and their team members, any contractors perhaps, it's just not going to happen. And I need to have metrics. I can't work off of feel.
yeah,
I can't have a director telling me the mid-level manager or the specialist underneath them is doing okay. I can't hear things such as better. I need to have measurements,
yeah,
1 to 10, 5 being average, satisfactory, but average, a little better, 6, a little worse, 4, starting to get into issues, 3, starting to really stand out, 7. There's shades to this, and I need to be able to measure from 1 week to the next, let alone 1 month, 1 quarter. Uh, Having those metrics in play have given us the what so to a much greater deal and allowed us to realize where more attention is needed. And as we're implementing different options, because when I don't know the answer to something, I want to come up with options and test those out. We can then gauge which ones are producing the best.
Yeah.
I believe having that as an aspect of the conversation has allowed my team to accelerate to higher levels. And I don't know any content marketers who've worked on more investor marketing campaigns than our director of content marketing, Khalil Doheny, or advertising with our lead media buyer, Nikki, or our account director, Abby. All of these individuals have become recognized, have become leaders in the space based on the volume of accounts that they've taken on. And for me, it's rewarding just to be part of that partnership and see them accelerate.
Well said. Um, is your team working in an office, or is it the distributed or hybrid?
Hybrid.
Hybrid.
Hybrid. So we have an office here in Marina Del Rey, which is in Los Angeles, quarter mile from Venice Beach, and right below about 2 miles
Nice.
from Santa Monica, if you're familiar with the beach cities out here. And Wednesdays, I have different departments cycle into the office each Wednesday of the month. We have annual summits, quarterly, half year, monthly, different activities for different team members. And I value the in-person interactions and what we're able to build and the relationships, the systems, the takeaways that we get from those
Mm.
in-person sessions, while providing the flexibility, the comfortability of working remote for the majority of the time. I find it to be efficient, effective, and favorable among team members.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're pretty far to replace that physical environment, workforce, workspace with the digital that we're doing, and obviously the you and I, we haven't met yet in person, but an effect there when you meet in person someone, you have this energy that's like right there and at that right time. Now, Jason, obviously, I would love to have a more of this conversation about the leadership and innovation and ideas. Um, talking about the creativity. All right. Um, how do you nurture a creativity among your team members and leaders to perform and to bring these ideas? Obviously, as you said, not every campaign goes well. Bring that kind of creativity mindset and finding the way how to make it better. How do you nurture this?
Goes back to structure. So during that weekly Wednesday meeting, we have a whiteboard meeting, all hands on deck. Some administrative positions are not involved, but all of our account team, our content, advertising, outreach, the creative studio being inside the content team is involved. And I mentioned different departments each week. That department hosts the whiteboard meeting. In the whiteboard meeting, we ask the question, how can we do this better? And we review our processes, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and explore different ideas to improve that process. So monthly, we're taking out a magnifying glass, looking what we do, not from a place of congratulations, even if we're working on the top campaigns that month, and every month have something in those top spots, but just not soaking that in as much as asking how can we take this to the next level.
Hmm.
We do the same for accounts as part of a daily huddle for the account management calls that are going to take place the next day. So we're prepping and looking at how we can do better on that account, harvest creative ideas. So what are some new advertising variants? What are some new content pieces that we can produce? We need buy-in from the client, presented the next day as a brainstorm, build off of it, and then move it to the creative studio to develop.
Nice. Uh, Jason, what does bold mean to you? Not bold words, but the word bold.
It's a standout. You have 10 people standing in a line. Which one is bold? Where the eyes focus? It's an attitude, a a presence in communication that stands out. Again, it sticks with you. It's memorable. It's out of the ordinary. It's new. It's different. Whether we're talking about fashion, whether we're talking about graphic design
Hmm.
and color patterns, branding, whether we're talking about a panelist and the responses given on a stage that were courageous, confident, leveraging expertise, and providing new perspective that resonate with the audience to a degree that it's repeated. It was bold of that speaker to say that. Um, it is more concerned with the impact than the standard way of doing things, and it's a place where the top individuals in the world operate, where they come from,
Hmm.
whether we're talking about sport, founders, creatives, you name it. Um, it's that top 1%, that top 0.001 of the world. And I've followed many uh, public speakers who study the bold. They study the absolute best at something and look to repackage their mindsets, their practices for what they call the average person. Uh, Again, a fan of what you put together for being bold, and that's what it means to me.
That's awesome, man. Jason, congrats on all your achievements. Thank you for joining me in this Bold Talk series. Looking forward to our next conversation together, hopefully with a longer format. Until next time, take care, my friend. Be great and be bold always. Thank you.
Thank you, Epi. Privileged to be here today. Thank everybody for tuning in. See you next time.
Awesome.